Have you ever bought a new app or a new program, a software, started using some new website, thinking it was going to make you more effective? It was going to solve all your problems. And then you found that you were just struggling to use it and you didn't really improve your effectiveness or your efficiency. You're not alone. That happens to all of us. And the problem isn't the tool that you purchased or are using, it's really something deeper. I've been thinking a lot about tools versus skills, specifically when it comes to networking. And what does that mean? I think in networking, there's apps you can buy, there are databases you could buy, there are ways to set up contact tracking. You could have CRM systems, which are actually for sales, but you can use something similar for networking where you put in a list, a database, all your contacts. And I'm going to admit, I have a list of contacts that I regularly go through and figure out who I haven't talked to in a while and who I need to reach out to. And there's nothing wrong with having these tools. There's nothing wrong with having a way to organize your contacts. But if you think that that's going to solve your networking issues, if you think that's going to make you a better networker, then you're going to be disappointed because the reality is the tool isn't going to make you a better networker. What really will is to improve your networking skills. So this is a question of tools versus skills. And what I see a lot, and it's not just in networking, but we like to buy tools. I mean, if you go to many people's garages or their houses, you'll see all kinds of different tools that people have purchased. The same happens in our professional lives at work or in our businesses. We like to buy a new tool because we think that that's finally going to be the thing that puts us sort of over the edge, started kind of moves us to that next levels by getting a tool. And this is coming up a lot these days, especially around AI. I would say there's a new AI tool that comes out every week, literally, maybe every day. And every time it does, it's like, okay, here's another new tool. How do I use it? And in reality, learning how to use tools is more important than the tools themselves. So, I mean, I've seen people with networking who, and I will tell people all this all the time. They're like, I need to get away to, I need a database. I need a spreadsheet. I need to organize my contacts. And I caution them. I say, don't focus so much on how you organize your contacts. Focus on reaching out to them. Focus on having conversations. Focus on helping people out. Because if you just focus on the list, you'll get stuck in the list. You'll spend all your time managing your list and putting the database together and no time talking to people. So tools are things that help us do the work, but the skills that we learn and cultivate and use in the process are actually what make us more effective. You want to learn how to use the tools. You want to learn how to network as opposed to relying on the tool. Like no tool is going to do the work for you. So the skills are what you need to focus on. And again, this happens in everything. It happens and I think the reason why it happens honestly is it's easy to sell somebody a tool. It's easy to say this tool, this website, this app, this whatever website is going to solve your problems. It's harder to sell skills. Skills are hard to sell because skills require the person who you're selling it to do something. Skills require you to go out and get experience. I mean, skills come through experience. We can train you on the basics, but you have to go out and do the work in order to gain the skills. And I find this challenge in networking as well as I'm trying to start a business around teaching people to develop better professional relationships. Everybody just wants okay, tell me what to go do. Great. But you're going to have to go out and do it. And that's where I think sometimes people get a little disenchanted with learning new skills is they don't see an immediate impact. They might see a little bit of activity and some progress, but some of these skills take a while to develop. And I've had clients before who I worked with to help them network, and they were saying things like, I don't really like to network. It doesn't feel good. And when I told them, hey, here's a different way to approach it. Here's a different mindset. Here's another skill. They implemented that skill and they immediately found like, hey, that was great. Like I really actually enjoyed that. Networking was actually fun. And so that example was somebody was telling me, I don't really like to reach out to people. It feels fake. It feels awkward. And I said, well, why don't you start with some people that you already know, which is always my first step in networking, is to tell people to start with who they know. And the reason why I do that is because it's low risk. They're likely to respond. And they're also probably going to get back to you. You're going to have a conversation with them. And it doesn't really feel like networking because you're not cold calling, you're not reaching out to a stranger, but at the same time, you're reconnecting, establishing a relationship that can lead to other introductions to people and lead to a bigger network. So that is not really a tool. I mean, I guess mindset could be a tool, but it's more of a skill. So the skill part is reach out to people who you already know. And when you go practice that skill and you start connecting, then you find, oh, I had a great conversation with a person. They responded to me. It was low risk and we had a great conversation. And now we're staying in touch and we're actually introducing each other to new people. And by the way, that was actually fun. That kind of skill, again, is something you have to go out and do. So I think that when we're networking, it's really easy to get hung up on, I need to have my LinkedIn profile perfect before I reach out to people. Again, LinkedIn is a tool. LinkedIn itself holds your profile, it holds your contacts, it allows you to send messages to people, it allows you to share things through posts, but that's just the tool. How you use it is the skill, right? So again, if you have really established your LinkedIn profile, that's, you need the skill of creating a great LinkedIn headline. You need the skill of knowing what to put on your profile. If you're going to post or you're going to comment, you need the skill of what's a good comment to write to get people to respond. What's a good connection message to send to people? These are all skills that you use and you learn that are, also transferable, right? So the way in which we talk to people, the way in which we reach out to people, that works whether using LinkedIn or email. So focusing on what's the right message I can write so that people are more likely to respond. That's the skill you want to learn. And then when you start having conversations with people, like let's say you get off of a platform and you're having real in real life conversations with people, how do you have those conversations? What's the skill of the conversation? And I think the problem with skills, the other problem with skills that we tend to see, and this happens a lot in companies, I think, where we hire people to come in and do the job because their resume or their background said they had the skill and they had that experience. And so we just put them in there and we say, go to town. Especially when it comes to connecting within an organization, we don't teach the skills to people to navigate the organization, connect with other people in other teams, connect with leaders, get to build those relationships so that people can collaborate more effectively. They'll be more innovative. They can find future growth opportunities. They'll become more connected to the organization and likely to stay there. We assume that people come into our organization with these skills, and so we don't teach them that. And the same thing happens with networking for individuals too, whether you're an individual networking or you're somebody within an organization who needs to meet people and build relationships. Nobody teaches you those skills to do that because we assume as an adult human being walking around the earth, you somehow know this. But we would never bring you on to our company and put you in a job and not invest in training you for the skills you needed for that job. If I'm working in HR and say it's in Total Rewards, which is a place that I work, if somebody comes onto my team and they're newer and they don't have the skills of how to do a compensation analysis, I'm certainly going to invest time and money in teaching that. I don't assume they know that, right? But again, we assume that people, because it is communications and conversations and relationships, we assume everybody knows how to do that. But we don't really all know how to do that, and we need to be trained on those skills. Now, we can put in place all sorts of tools and commonly in an organization, in a company like I'm talking about, they might have the tool, and I'll call it a tool of a mentor program. Right. So they'll say, oh, we have a mentorship program. And I've seen this happen. I've actually been part of these in past companies. You get assigned a mentor, right? Somebody volunteers or is voluntold they have to do this mentorship program. So they're a leader and it's like, hey, mentorship's important. So we're going to assign you a mentee. And then you get assigned to this person who you don't really know. You don't really know why you're talking to them. And you might have a great conversation and relationship with them. It could totally work. But in many cases, people don't really get to pick their mentors or mentees. It's kind of assigned. And those relationships don't really end up working. And it doesn't work because it's kind of forced. You don't get all the value out. So that's a tool that an organization puts in place to say, hey, we have mentorship. They don't spend any time with the mentor or the mentee teaching them the skill of what that relationship or that conversation should look like. That's why oftentimes these programs don't work. And that's, again, you've got to teach the skill of really, I believe that you pick your mentors. You as the mentee should pick the person you want to mentor you. You shouldn't be assigned it. It's not going to work. It's going to be forced. So you need to know who are the people you'd want to reach out to. Who would you like to get to know? Who is somebody that you think you could benefit from meeting? And you then have to learn that skill of how to approach that person and then how to have a conversation and also how to provide value to that other person. Because even though somebody may be a leader in an organization, they subconsciously kind of want to get something out of it. And maybe it's the feeling of helping you that they get out of it, but they're going to want to get some value out of it as well. They're going to want to see that, if they give you advice, you go do that and you come back and you say, hey, I tried your advice. Here's what happened. It was great. Or I tried your advice. Here's what happened. Can we troubleshoot because it didn't go well? But again, you have to know to do those things. And I think too many organizations and too many individuals forget that we aren't just born knowing how to do this stuff. And so that's why I am, whether I'm talking to an individual who needs to network because they want to find new opportunities, or whether I'm talking to an HR leader or a CEO or COO or somebody who's leading a company, and they're talking about, I feel like my organization, people don't talk to each other. I feel like we're not really connected. I feel like we're siloed. I feel like we could do a better job of engaging people, but I just don't know how to do it. I would start with, let's teach people the skill of building relationships across the organization. Let's not assume that everybody knows how to do this. And definitely let's not put some tool in place, whether it's a Slack channel or some sort of online community or something like that we just put in place and say, okay, now people are going to go connect. Because if you just do that and you check that box, you're going to be really disappointed and you're going to waste money on a tool. You can't just put the tool in place. You got to show people how to use it and how to be effective. And that really comes down to all these networking skills of, who do I connect with? How do I approach them? How do I do this in a way that's respectful and mutually beneficial? How do I do it in a way that I'm going to listen to what they're saying? I'm going to give them value. How do I do it in a way that when they want to help me, I'm easy to help? How do I do it in a way that it becomes a habit, that it becomes a function? It's something the organization does. It's built into the culture, and it's something everybody is empowered to go around the organization and do. And when you do something like that, right, then those skills that you give, this takes on a life of its own. You don't need a bunch of tools. You don't need to invest in oversight and management. If you teach people how to navigate this organization and build these relationships, they're going to do it on their own. And those relationships are going to take place, and you're going to get all the benefits of these relationships without having to manage another program. And that's really what I'm hoping to teach people, teach individuals, teach companies. And so if you're an individual this week, what I would say is, don't get so hung up on the tools that in networking. Don't get hung up on LinkedIn itself. Get focused on the skill of connecting with people and having real conversations. If you're in an organization or you're leading teams, don't try to put in some, again, tool like a Teams channel or Slack channel and think that people are going to collaborate. show them how to reach out to people and set aside time and intentionally talk about who each other is, who we all are. Like, talk about people as people and not just their role in the organization, and get to know them and foster those conversations. If you're looking for information on how to do that, I mean, this newsletter, this podcast, this video is a great place to start. I've been talking about this for years now, and any of the principles I talk about would apply in an organization. If you still want more, I've got a free class on how to connect. Again, it's how to grow your professional network in 5 easy steps. You could do that. Or you could reach out to me and we could talk. We could have a conversation about what you're struggling with or what your team's struggling with, and I'd be happy to give you some ideas. So please focus on the skill of networking and not just the networking tools. You're going to get much farther. You're going to increase your network. You're going to meet new people. You're going to grow your opportunities. All those things are going to happen when you focus on the skills and less on the tools. Go out this week, try some of those things out. If you need more help or you need more suggestions, reach out to me. You know where you can find me. Have a great week. By the way, I'm going to be on vacation next week. This is just a small little thing. I'll be on vacation next week out of the country, so there will not be a newsletter or a podcast next week, but you got the next couple of weeks to try some of this stuff out. Go out there, give it a shot. Remember, always be connecting.